In this video we're going to look at the HTML Import Genie in Alpha. This Genie allows you to easily convert a form on an HTML page built in Dreamweaver, Frontpage, or by hand or any other program into an AJAX form. I've created an HTML page with a form based on the Alpha Supports customer table. All inputs, selects, and text areas in the form have been given a name attribute, and all buttons and anchor tags that I want to use for navigation and saving and such have been given IDs. To actually import this into Alpha 5, we go to the Web Projects Control Panel, we choose New, we choose a A5W page, and we choose Import. This automatically brings up the Import Genie, and in the Import Genie, the first page asks us to choose whether we want to import from a file or from a string that we just could paste in. In this case, we want to do it from a file, and I know that the file is right here. So we go Next, and now it's asking us what type of form we want to create. In this case we want generic edit, and then it asks for what element contains all the controls on the form. This is sort of important for the code, the JavaScript code that handles the AJAX, and we know that this is customer form. If you've wrapped in a div instead of a form tag, you can display the div tags, but in this case we've wrapped it in a form tag. Next it asks for the data. You can either be DBF or SQL. In this case we want DBF and we want the customer table. And now it's asking for bindings. Each of these fields it's found, you can set the column that it should be bound to. But since we've made these names roughly match the names in the customer table, we can click auto bind and it's going to go through and figure out which ones match which. You can see that it's done that. If you're using elements that are not actually form elements, such as a span to display data in, you can click the add button and choose any ID'd tag to add to the bindings, and then bind it to whatever column you want to. There's also some, you can set default value and some client-side validation if you want to, but in this case we're not going to do that. Next, it asks you to bind actions in the form to links or buttons. In this case, we want navigation to be bound to these various buttons. And so we go through and set all the bindings here. Now we've got the two buttons at the bottom that also allow you to do save and new. Next we have a validate. This is basically generic XBasic you can do if you want to add validation. In this case we're not going to do validation, but this help here pretty much thoroughly explains how you can do it and what will happen. There's also an after validate XBasic. This basically will fire after validation has occurred if the form has validated, and allows you to do something like send an email if you want to. Lastly, it asks us what we want to save it as, in which case I want to save it as this, and I'll check this checkbox so it opens up the HTML editor. Now you can see it's created two pages. First I have the actual A5W page that now is set up. And I also have an AJAX page. This contains the code that is going to run and actually do all the bindings and saving of data. So we go to here and we run this and it loads it up. And what you'll see is that now this form, which previously didn't work, is actually working. We can navigate through, and if we go here and we make a change and save and move away and come back, you'll see that it is actually fully functioning and saving the data.